I'm pleased to welcome you to our 5th annual Live Your Best Life lecture series that is brought to us by our BG Alumni Association. And shortly, Representative Mrs. Lisa Georgiana is going to formally introduce our guest speaker, who is Chris Redding, a graduate from Bishop Guilfoyle. She will be introducing him to you. I just want to take a moment and share with you, during Chris's last visit, which was last spring, I believe, to Bishop Guilfoyle, he was in the area on business and stopped in at the school. And during that visit, the Altoona Mirror ran a featured article on the success of Chris Redding. During that process, I was contacted by a reporter and asked for some comments, being that Chris was a student of mine when he was at Bishop Guilfoyle. And the question was I surprised at his success? And thinking back to the time when he was a student of mine in a typing class at BG, I must admit that I would have had no idea of what Chris would have gone on to do after graduating from Bishop Guilfoyle. But what I do believe and what I do know is that so many of our graduates, you can look to them, our current students, you can look to our graduates and what they have done and what they have accomplished with their life. And I am so pleased that Chris is going to have the opportunity and that you're going to have the opportunity to hear him tell his story this morning. So now I would like to introduce to you and ask you to welcome Mrs. Lisa Georgiana. And
let's open with a prayer. In the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Before I introduce Chris, I want to give a shout out to the girls volleyball team for beating Carol. And I also want to give a shout out to the football team who's going to beat Carol. Alumni, faculty, staff, students, thanks for giving us this opportunity to bring you Chris Redding, Bishop Guilfoyle class of '81, and he went on to become a physical therapist. And he graduated with honors from the Medical College of Virginia, and so he was practicing physical therapy. And raise your hand if you sat in on Chris's lecture last spring. Those of you students who sat in, well, many of them probably have graduated and maybe have gone on to PT school by now. But what happened was, because he was such a kind of good guy with a lot of integrity and smarts and things, the people along his journey noticed that, and they invited him to kind of come over to the business side of things, of the physical therapy world. So, long story short, he was with Health South for 10 years in an administrative vice president role. And then in 2003, I believe, I lost my notes. They were sitting on the printer at home. He became the COO, that's the Chief Operating Officer, at a publicly traded company called US Physical Therapy. And then in 2005, he became the CEO, Chief Executive Officer. That's like the big boss, okay? So he reports to shareholders, and I believe you can Google US Physical Therapy, but when I Googled US Physical Therapy, and I read the letter from the CEO, Chris Redding, it wasn't necessarily what he was doing with the company, a very successful company and one of the best places nationally ranked to work, and it was how he was running the company. And if you Google his letter, you will see the philosophy is pretty much treat others as you want to be treated. Even in a cutthroat kind of business environment, when you treat people with respect and you keep your integrity, even though having your integrity might not be the easiest thing to do at the time, you'll succeed on many levels. So Chris Redding is playing at the highest level on many levels, and it's my pleasure to welcome him to today.
Very good. I'm really pleased to be here today. So very pleased. we gotta figure out how to get the, who knows how to work the projector. I just want to thank Principal Donnelly and all the faculty and staff, Lisa, Joan Schiminger helped me get set up this morning, the alumni group that you have here, Doug Wolf, Michael Fury, so many great leaders in this school that have done so much to make this school what it is. Faculty here, I'm just really happy to be back. There are 3 teachers that are here when I was here long time ago. And I'm just tickled to be here. This is called Live Your Best Life. We'll get the projector running here momentarily. It isn't going to be a lecture though. I know it's a lecture series. I have teenagers at home, your age, I have 5 kids, you can see them here in a minute, but they don't like it when I lecture to them, so we're not going to do a lecture. Unless you guys want that. Who wants a lecture? Okay. I am going to talk a little bit, and I'm also not here to tell you how to live your life. I don't have a right to do that. I'm not your parent. You probably get enough of that at home. I am here to share with you some experience that I have in my life, beginning when I was here, and moving forward, things that have been important to me, and things that I've learned over a period of time. And hopefully, there might be some of those things that resonate with you, that make sense. Just a quick point of orientation. I speak a fair amount these days. When I was here in 1980, whatever, I would have almost rather died than be up on stage and speak in front of a group, okay? So this place, this picture, is right outside our little creek on the Chesapeake Bay in Virginia, where we still spend summers. This is my favorite place in the whole world. Took that from our little boat with the kids fishing. And so that's what helps me just stay focused and relaxed while I'm up here talking to you. At some point at the end or throughout, if you guys have any questions, feel free to stop me and ask me. Again, I'm going to be talking about things that kind of important in my life. In order for you to understand some perspective, I want to take you briefly through some things in my career and other things. That's not the focus, but I think it gives you a perspective of who I am and maybe where I'm coming from. So, as Lisa said, I'm blessed to be the president and CEO of a company called US Physical Therapy. The company was formed about 22 years ago. We're based in Houston, Texas. It's been public for almost the whole time, meaning it trades the stock exchange. You, your parents, anybody who wants to can buy shares in the company and be an owner, just like Google or Apple or any of those other companies. We've initially run NASDAQ for more than 15 years. 2 years ago, we moved over to the New York Stock Exchange. We have about 450 locations. We've been ranked as Forbes top 100 small companies in the country. And generally, every year, we make the Houston top 100 companies. About 98 of those companies are in the oil and gas business. But we've been pleased to be on that list as well. If you're like me, I'm just working out with my kids at the gym and you know, just getting dinged up on the weekends, fractures, strains, dislocations, things like that. That's what we do. What we also do is we try to connect with people in a way that's meaningful and really make a friend for life. So we get to see these people in healthcare today. You're in and out so quickly with the doctor, and we're blessed to be able to spend about an hour or so with our patients. So we get to know them very well. It's been a great career. We work with companies all around the country. We have the exclusive contract with Ford Motors nationally. We take care of all their employees. With companies in Pennsylvania like us. When I was in Richmond, Virginia, where I practiced for most of my career, I worked with Reynolds Metals, a big company, 15-state contract with Chrysler. When I was a clinician for 15 to, I guess, 18 years, the last few of those in transition, my love, my passion was sports medicine. So I was in the clinic during the day at a knee and shoulder practice primarily, nights and weekends on the sidelines, at your sporting events, like your volleyball team, which I hear is absolutely outstanding, your football team, which sounds like it's doing great as well. And I love to treat everybody, but I love the athletes. And I like to be around sports, and I enjoy that part of the business. So over my career, I got to work with the Redskins. I was a consultant for them for the last 3 years. I was in Richmond. We took care of East Coast Hockey League team, the Richmond Renegades, for 20 years, and that was a lot of fun. Worked with the Washington Capitals and what was at that time the Washington Bullets, now the Wizards, with our clinics in D.C. We took care of all the athletes at the University of Richmond, and we worked with the arena football team, Richmond Speed. We also took care of schools like this all around the community, again, where I lived. I got to meet a lot of interesting people in my career. Now, you guys are a lot younger than I am. You're my kids' age. Who knows who these guys are? One of them's been on TV recently. He's got a commercial run. Tom knows. Doug knows, I'm sure. Case, you know. Anybody know who these guys are? Okay, so the guy on the right is voted by ESPN to be the greatest athlete of all time. His name is Bo Jackson. He was Heisman Trophy winner in 1985. He has the fastest reported time ever in a combine for the 40-yard dash, 4.12 seconds. He has a dual sport career in professional football and professional baseball that ran at the same time, go from one sport into the other. He was an amazing athlete. I got to work with Bo for a number of years. We created, when I was at Health South, a group called the Sports Medicine Council, and we put on these massive arena-like events for kids, and Bo was very involved in that, so I could spend a lot of time with him. The other gentleman, Herschel Walker, who, Bo and Herschel are both 6'1". Now Herschel, standing on his tiptoes here, because he did not want to be smaller than I was in the picture. That's why he's got a big smile on his face. And you can tell by they're both the same size. Herschel, also an amazing athlete, 1982 Heisman Trophy winner, the only person who's ever been in the top 10 balloting for the Heisman Trophy 3 years in a row during his college career. Herschel spent most of his time at Dallas for the Cowboys, which we don't have any Cowboy fans here, do we? I didn't think so. All right. Uh-oh, front row. You have to move to the back. Great guy. I got to spend time with Guilfoyle also in the Sports Medicine Council. So this was a dream for me. I got to be around people that were heroes of mine when I was younger. I got to be around sports. I got to make a difference in people's lives. And it was, again, for me, a great blessing. So, not so important, national footprint. This is our company. We're 43 states. That's what I do. That's not who I am. So, who I am is, first of all, I'm a Christian. So my faith is very important to me. It's very important to my family. I'm a husband and a father. Been married to my beautiful wife, Sherry, now for 25 years this past year. Have 5 great kids that range in age now from Tori, with our youngest daughter, Gracie. Tori's about to be 22, so she's a senior at the University of Texas, wants to study medicine. And then the boys are 20, 18, 14. And then our little one, Gracie, is 6. So we go from 22 to 6. And it's crazy at my house. We're just talking about grocery bills. It's just, I can't even imagine. It's outrageous. So the family part of my life is just so very important. And hopefully, and I know that, you know, three of my guys right now are teenagers. And it's not easy being a teenager these days. It's not easy being a parent of teenagers. Hopefully, as you grow, hopefully now you have good, tight family bonds. It's so very important. My dad's here, my uncle's here. Had great family support growing up. My mother's gone now, passed away 14 years years ago. But I had amazing family support. Not everybody does. My wife did. My wife grew up in a very, very tough situation that I won't get into, but nobody should have to grow up that way. And yet she's done extraordinarily well. She's a great mother, she's a great wife. And the whole element of family in terms of my life and my success is very, very important. Now, as a father, as a man, in today's culture, it's tough. You get pulled in a lot of different directions. As a dad, we feel like we need to provide for our family. So work becomes very important. As a father, I want to make sure my kids grow up in the church and with faith. And so that's important. And you have to figure out how to balance those things out. And I'm not here to tell you that I do a perfect job all the time. I don't. But the reality is that we work and we strive and we try to keep things in perspective. And as you grow forward, hopefully, the element of family for you and for the people that you're surrounded by remains very, very important. And I think, for me at least, it's key to a good life. 1981 was the year I graduated, and the year Julie and Don Rotary, friends of mine, who were here, who I'm very happy to see and haven't seen in 32 years. And I'm just tickled that they're here. 1981, so Ronald Reagan was just elected president. The top movies were Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, The Howling, which is a scary movie, and Stripes with Bill Murray. Top songs, Don't Stop Believing. Bye. All right, very good. You guys did a good job. My kids had to learn 80s rock. It's very important. Tom Sawyer. Bye.
Rush.
A little less of the group. Come on now. Super free. All right. All right. We know our 80s rock. It's very important. 1981, graduated. I worked hard when I was here. High school was not easy for me. Not easy at all. I was in the academic group and then I wanted to go to college. But truth be told, I struggled a little bit. And I don't know how many of you were at the top of the class and how many are in the middle. I was kind of in the middle. And it was difficult. And when graduation came around, I was excited, was anxious to go to college. And at the same time, truth be told, I was a little bit nervous and maybe even a little bit scared. I didn't know if I was going to be able to do it. High school was not easy. I had to work very hard. I had a tutor most of the time for math. Struggled in math for whatever reason. And I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out. And really, when I was in your shoes, where's the senior group here? I should have brought you in the middle and the front. Good job. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do yet. And my kids run the gamut. We have a couple that know exactly what they want to do. The 14-year-old really knows what he wants to do. The 22-year-old knows what she wants to do. The other one's not sure. And that's okay. I wasn't sure when I was ready. I knew what I liked, though. So, right after graduation, I'm going to school. Tom Guilfoyle, who's a businessman here, great guy, gave me an opportunity to work at a fitness center here in town. I'm the guy in the back that didn't get the memo about what color pants to wear, with the bad haircut and the bad stand-alone mustache. So that's me. Back in 1982, 1981, 1982. And that was then because we're not to grow mustaches here. That was my first one. Can't really see it, it's really bad. So that was the time. Bill Conway, Dan Bender in the front, John Franco, and John Coach at Altoona High, Billy Seidel, Mrs. B in the back, Tom Guilfoyle on the left. We had a great time there. Dan and I and Tom Gressler worked out for years together. And this was the time when I really began to think about what do I want to do, what do I like to do. Well, my problem was I was very, very specific about what I loved to do. I couldn't figure out how to make a job out of that. The things I liked, at least from my perspective, weren't things that were going to lend themselves very well to a career. And I wanted to kind of have a plan when I got to school, and I didn't have a plan. And so Dan, who was the guidance counselor here then, a mentor to me and a good friend, a dear friend, and I started talking to Dan, and I said, you know, what do you think I could do? And his question back to me was, what do you love to do? And so, you know, I thought about it, so I made a list. I love to work out. I'm in the gym 6-7 days a week with my kids now. I've been that way my whole life. I like sports. I like science. When I was here, I did well in science. Didn't do well in math, did well in science. So I like bioanatomy. I like nutrition. I was interested in that. I read a lot about it. And I like to work with people. And I really found out that when I was at that fitness center, I loved the engagement that I got with people. I like to help people. So I said, okay, Dan, you're the man, you're the guidance counselor, tell me what I can do with this. So he did. And he said, there are really two things that, and he knew me really well. He said, athletic training. And so, you know, I spent some time looking at that, and I said, this is perfect. This is what I want to do. I want to be an athletic trainer. So I did some more research, and I said, this is perfect. That's what I want to do, but I want to have a big family, and I'm not sure that I can do what I want to do at that point in time, at least on an athletic trainer salary, which was like $11,000 a year or something. It was low. So I said, back to the drawing board. So what's just almost like this, but where I can make a little better living. And he said, physical therapy. I said, I really don't know that much about it. I hadn't been injured, hadn't been hurt, hadn't been to a therapist. I remember talking to Mom and Dad, and we had a family friend who was a therapist that ran what used to be Mercy Hospital rehab department. And they said, why don't you call her? So I did. Called her, and I said, can I come by? She said, certainly. So I went up, and she let me do volunteer work. Which I would strongly encourage you to do if you have any inkling about what you want to do. Not just to do the work and to get the exposure, but to be around people that can be a mentor as you go forward. So I did the volunteer work, and I loved it. Absolutely loved it. So I said, this is it. This is what I want to do. But there was a problem. Back then, and it's been that way for a little while, physical therapy school was very, very difficult to get into. So what I found was, everybody that I talked to tried to talk me out of being a physical therapist. Everybody said the same thing. It's too hard. I'm not going to be able to get into school. Well, two things. One I got from my dad. My dad is very stubborn. And you know my dad. And I inherited that. I'm very stubborn. And so when somebody says you can't do something, which I told my dad, I dare him, I said, you can't come up on stage. He said, I'm going to sit in the front row. I said, sit in the back row. He said, in the front row, of course. And so anyway, it was kind of a dare. And people were basically daring me, and they said, you can't do this. And, you know, there was the voice in the back of my head that said, if you can't. You didn't do that great in high school. You worked, and you put in effort, but it was hard. I wasn't sure I could ever do it. And I was a little bit scared. Then I was talking to these people who were well-intentioned, who weren't therapists, and they had done it. And they were telling me the same thing. It's hard. What's your backup plan? What's plan B? I didn't have plan B. I had plan A. That was the only thing I wanted to do. And I was committed to doing it. So as I stand here and tell you today, as unlikely as it is for me to be in front of you and for me to be here, live your dream. Hopefully you have people in your life that lift you up and surround you and encourage you. And I did. My parents were amazing that way. My uncle was here, lived next door. I had a lot of encouragement, a lot of support growing up. My wife didn't. She didn't have that. She had to do it with her own guts, her own effort. But it is important. It's important to encourage people. So I was a little bit discouraged, a little bit scared, but very focused that I was going to be able to do this. So I got to Penn State and got accepted with Penn State Altoona, and we're trying to sort out what major, and so I want to be a bio major. I love biology. Well, the first thing they said was, biology is very difficult. Looked at my SAT scores, looked at my grades, and said, we think you should not be the biomed. It's like, this is crazy. Everybody's telling me I can't do this. But this is what I want to do. And so I convinced them, let me in school of biology. If I don't get the grades, give me whatever you need to do. But I was nervous my freshman year. I wasn't sure what it was going to be like. Worked my butt off. Had an amazing first year. You know, the 3.9 in my first year, which by the way was better than any single year I'd ever had in high school. Things began to click. I began to get my confidence. Figured out I wanted to go to physical therapy school. Penn State didn't have a program at that time, so I transferred to Pitt, University of Pittsburgh, Johnstown. In those days, Penn State was on a trimester system. Pitt was on a semester system. Or maybe very many trimester schools. In those days, different than it is today, the school could decide whether they were going to accept and transfer credits or not. So I had A's in all my science classes. Pitt said, I'm not going to take them. So my second year, which was the year I needed to get all my prerequisites in for PT school, in addition to taking all the classes I still needed to take, I had to take biochem and physics over. So I had 19 and 20 credit semesters when I was at Pitt. I got mono, I got really sick, and it was tough. It was really tough. I got 2 applications in the PT school. One to Pitt, the one I didn't even remember doing because I was so frazzled at that point in time. The other one to the Medical College of Virginia. I wish I still had it. I got a letter back from Pitt, and basically the letter said, physical therapy is very competitive. We recommend, after some blah, blah, blah in the middle, we recommend you pursue another course of study. Not getting into school. So that was kind of a bummer. I told my friends, okay, I'm come back to school next year, put in another year, do this again next year, get some more applications out. I totally forgotten about the application that I sent in to the Medical College of Virginia. So, and I'm going to tell you a story about that in a minute. You know how the story ends. I'm here, got through PT school, I did very, very well. Things continued to get, I won't say they got easier for me, but I got better at it, the academic part. And I really enjoyed it, liked it. So as you sit here today, you're struggling, and some probably are, as I did, some probably aren't. I think there's value in the struggle, actually, because life isn't always easy. I'd love to be able to tell you that it's easy, and you all have an amazing life, and I hope that you all do. There are points along the way where you really, this is kind of a miracle to me, that I would end up with a woman as amazing as my wife, and a career as amazing as I've had this career so far. And I will tell you that, and I'm a very faith-oriented person. God made you, just like He made me, and all of us, uniquely. He made you perfectly. He made you to do amazing things. So dream big. Set the bar high for yourself. It doesn't matter where you are right now. It doesn't matter what you did yesterday. It matters where you want to be and where you want to go. And the only person, there's nobody that can limit you in that but you. Sure, there are breaks along the way, and there's luck, and there's a lot of things involved. Hard work, certainly, which we'll talk about in a minute. But dream about doing impossible things. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, there's everything right with that. Just a quick little story. Never in a million years thought I'd be CEO of anything, okay? And I didn't really want to be at the time, but it worked out so that it was challenging, and it was an opportunity, and I decided to do it, and I've been very blessed. There's been a great team of people. I got a call, this is some years ago, a few years ago, from NASDAQ, where we're listed at the stock exchange, and they said, basically, would you like to open the stock exchange? And so the call came into our CFO, and they said, would you guys like to come up and do this? And he's a few years older than I am, and he'd done it before. And he said, you really need to do this. So we went to New York. We're in New York a lot, meeting with shareholders and whatnot. And I got to open the stock exchange. So that was cool, and I didn't know what to expect. But they make you feel very special, and they have your company's name and lights, and it's a big deal, and you go up and you give a little talk, you ring the opening bell, everybody claps, it's kind of cool. So I thought, okay, what up? That was neat, that was very cool. They got us and they took us out onto Times Square, which, how many of you have ever been to Times Square in New York? All right, fair amount. It's cool. I still go there, I still walk around with my head up in the air, looking at all the buildings with all the lights and practically the video screens in every building. We're out in the middle of Times Square, which is now a walking mall. And up on the NASDAQ building, they put our company logo. They take our picture, and that was very cool. The next thing I know, my picture's on the building going like 30 stories tall. We're out in the middle of Times Square, and I'm like, this is just too surreal. I mean, in a million years, not that that's important, but it was just one of the cool things that came very unexpectedly out of just the blessing that I've had in terms of my career. And a lot of that stuff will deal with a great education. I don't watch much TV, but my kids watch some TV. How many of you know what this logo represents? Most of you don't know what this logo represents. Okay. So, there's a TV show called Fantasy Factory. You guys ever hear of it? Rob Dyrdek. He has a show now called Ridiculousness, which is a little bit different. But this guy, here's a guy who has made millions of dollars as a skateboarder, but he turned that into a business, huge entertainment business. And the reason I think it's cool, and we'll talk about this in a minute, is because here's a guy who, on the surface, his skill is as a skateboarder. But that's not really a skill. When you look at the show, which is an entertainment show, it's one of these kind of upbeat reality shows. He's got his friends, his cousins, and his best friend, who logo represents Big Black. And he thinks of the craziest stuff, and then he turns it into a business. He doesn't just turn it into an average business, he turns it into a huge business. And some of his ideas are just totally off the wall, but he makes it happen. Now this logo, which is, this guy on the show, if you haven't seen it, he's like 6'10", he's big, African American, his name is Big Black. So it comes up with a logo, and they market this logo, and it sell all kinds of clothing, all kinds of stuff. Well, for those few of you that raised your hand, when he's not wearing a BB shirt, what does this shirt say? Give me a hint. It's 2 words. Do work. Do work. It says do work. It's my favorite shirt. Do work. I talk to my kids all the time about the importance of learning how to do work. Now, for some of you, school probably comes pretty easy. There's nothing wrong with that. I wish it came easy for me. There are going to be times in your life where you're going to have to know how to do work. Life is kind of an action sport, right? It requires a lot of effort. It requires a lot of input. It requires a lot of intimacy. And so, in my view, it's so important to know how to do that. It's kind of like running a marathon. You can read a book about how to run a marathon, but unless you train to run that marathon, it's going to be painful, right? So you have to train yourself how to work, and how to put in effort, and how to put in sustained effort when you're really tired, and when it doesn't make sense. So when you need something, what do? What do? Do work, right? And when you want a better job, what do you have to do? Guys? Do work. And when you have a relationship that's not going exactly like you need it to, but it's important, what do you have to do? Do work. Do work, right. It's important to learn how to do work. And that's key to finding not just success, but a path in life which allows you to realize your dreams. So we talked a little bit about this in my life, and Lisa was good enough to start the day in prayer. I was going to do that. Everything important that I do, everything that is important to me, I pray about. Because I don't want to leave it just to me, because some of these things in my life are so very important. My family, decisions I'm making at work, not just because it's at work, but because it affects a lot of people's lives. So I pray about all that. Sometimes I get clarity, sometimes I don't. But I pray, and I focus, and my faith is very important. And so I would encourage you, you're in a great place here. You have a great foundation, Catholic school, Christian environment. Continue to keep that as part of your life. Now, when I was a student, I probably took a lot of that for granted. Sure I did. But as I've gotten older, that's become more and more important to me. All right, so this is kind of a crazy slide. How many people in here, not the technology, but specifically the version of technology, have ever used a payphone? All right, a few. All the guys in the back use the payphone. I get it. Sophomore year, University of Pittsburgh, in a dorm with 150 guys, right? Busy place, suites of rooms, crazy at all hours of the night, right? I've got a crazy schedule, having a good time, but going to school, and back when I graduated, no cell phones, no Facebook, no nothing. You couldn't keep in touch with people, right? Your parents need to get a hold of you. If you were within driving distance, maybe they could get you. You had a payphone in the hall, right? Stick quarters in, and that would give you like 30 seconds worth of a local call. If you want to make a long distance call, when I was poor then, I had pizza money, but not phone money. So I had applied my earlier story to 2 schools. University of Pittsburgh said, no deal. And the Medical College of Virginia, which, to be honest, I didn't even remember applying to. So, small acts of kindness changed my life. One day, the phone rings. This phone used to ring a lot. And I will tell you, not proudly, that I probably walked by it 90% of the time and didn't answer it. Because you know who it was for. It wasn't your phone, it was in the hallway, right? You were going somewhere, it was busy. If you answered it, you had kind of an obligation to go find that person, take the message, see if they were there, and that was a hassle, right? It was inconvenient. The phone rings one day. I happened to be in my room, and somebody answered the phone. First act of kindness. The person on the other end of the phone was the admissions director from the Medical College of Virginia, who wanted to talk to me. That's the number I gave. I didn't have a phone, right? There was no such thing. They didn't have phones in the room. Called a payphone in the hall. They came and got me. Got on the phone. Yes, this is Chris. We want you to come interview. I was dumbfounded. It took me a second. Didn't even remember filling out the application. That's great. When do you want me to come? Next week. Next week was fine. I can't come. She said, we really want you to come. She said, we'll change things around if you can't make it. And I said, I'll find a way. And so I juggled the schedule, and Mom and Dad, we drove at night. We got there at 3 in the morning, and from Pennsylvania to Virginia to Richmond, and I interviewed the next day, and that was kind of crazy because it was like one of the last spots. I ended up being the 2 of us were youngest in the class. But think about it, guys. My life would be completely different if not for that one small act of kindness. The person, and I feel bad, I don't remember who did it, who answered the phone. I wouldn't have met my wife. I wouldn't have been in Richmond with all my friends, that are dear friends, lifelong friends. Wouldn't have my kids. Everything would be different. Everything. If not for that one small act of kindness. And we have an opportunity in our lives, and I miss a lot of them personally. I'm guilty of missing opportunities to do those small acts of kindness. Because I will tell you personally, they do change the world, and they do this a very poorly understood, very rare cancer-like disease that we found as a result of him falling out of bed, breaking his jaw, getting a little lump there that we found. This was the toughest meeting in my life. We were a young family, and it was difficult. So, go in and sit with Dr. Alexander, and he says, he's almost in tears, and he said, I didn't know what this was when the path report came back, but I looked it up, and it's as bad as it gets. He said, you know, the mortality rate is like 90%. And it was tough. It was really tough. The only thing that got us through that time was prayer. The only thing. And this is back in the day, again, no computer, no cell phone. I spent days at the medical library, in the stacks, in the carbon files, doing research on this very poorly understood, progressively fatal disease that a 3-year-old had. And at the end of the day, his course, miraculously, took a different course than normal, and he ended up being okay. And we did lots of CTs and lots of MRIs and lots of studies over the years. And he's done fine, and he's cured. The only thing that got us through that time is our faith. Faith is just so very important. You're going to have times when it's tough, and your family's going to be important to you, but you're going to have to rely on something more than that. This summer, Turner was 20 with a daughter, Gracie. He's great, and it's a great blessing. So, our youngest daughter, she's Chinese, saw a picture. She's Cantonese, born in far southern China. We were 4 kids. Youngest was, I think, 5. With our pregnancy, hard to go through. And my life was in a good place. And one day we were in church, and it was a reading of scripture. It was, I've heard many times before. It was about caring for orphans, and on that line. And something spoke to me that day, and I really felt like God was saying to me, you need to do something. You're not here to be comfortable, you're here to make a difference. And so around that same time, my wife had the same kind of feeling, amazingly. And so we decided we were going to adopt. And based on our family and some other things we talked about, we decided we would go to China and try to adopt a little girl. Back then, they told us it would be about 6 months. It turned out to be 3 years. Okay? Took a long time. So this is a picture of our little Gracie. She was still in China. She's probably 9 or 10 months old here in the orphanage. That was the first picture on the right that we got, a little postage stamp sized picture. But I'll tell you, along the way, 2.5 years into it, when you adopt in China, they pick the child out for you. You send in a lot of information. They pick the child out. They send you a little picture. It's illegal in China to give a child up for adoption. It's illegal, okay? But in China, because of the one-child policy, they have, I don't want to do this in any kind of insensitive way, it's a cultural thing and it's different. They have areas where they check, and sometimes people give up their kids. And so Gracie, her story was, with her umbilical cord attached, so newly born, day 1, day 2, she was in a little shoebox, wrapped in a little red cloth, left at a bike rack at a local elementary school. And so police, the local fire, whoever picked her up, they took her to the state orphanage here. And that's where she lived the first year of her life, in a crib, about this big. I ultimately saw pictures, made me cry. 25 to 30 cribs, double stacked, and no space in between, one nanny for 30 kids, 30 infants. She survived. When we got her, she was a year old. She was 11 pounds, and she's little, but she was definitely undernourished. Here's the story, and this is the credit to my wife. 2.5 years in, middle of the night, Sherry wakes me up and says, Chris, wake up. And I thought somebody was trying to get in the house. So I startled, I woke up, pretty sound sleeper, and I said, what's going on? She said, I want to talk about our adoption. I looked over the clock, and I looked back at her, and I said, it's 2:30. I said, can we talk tomorrow? And she said, no, we need to talk right now. So I said, okay. And she said, I've been praying. And she said, God, I feel like God wants us to adopt a child with special needs. So at that point, I was wide awake, right? We have 4 kids. Life is kind of crazy. And my wife, who I love dearly, is saying that we should adopt a special needs baby. And so I said something very stupid, which I'm trying to do from time to time, and I said, I've been talking to God too. He hasn't said a word to me about adopting a special needs baby. So I'm not so sure. It turned out as we talked, we decided, with much trepidation on my part, to go ahead and put a special needs application in. The thing that I was so worried about, because I had this little picture in my mind that I was so worried about, was that we would get a referral for special needs baby, and it wouldn't be the child in the picture. And my prayer all along was, God, just bring us the child that you picked out for our family. And I'm sorry, I got a little choked up. So anyway, long story. We get this referral. It's Sherry's birthday. We get a call, and it's the adoption agency. We have a referral for you. You're going to get 1 shot. Special needs baby. Okay. She's 9 months old at that time. Okay. Would you like to know what special need is? Sure. So Gracie's special need, the reason we have her, the reason that this worked out, sorry, is because you see the little mark on her right knee? That's a birthmark. That was her special need. She had a skin mark on her knee. She had a hemangioma on her knee. It classified her as a special need. If not for that, if not for my wife's faith, we wouldn't have gotten it. Okay? We jumped to the front of the line. That birthmark, it's gone. It's not there anymore. It was there when we brought her home. Disappeared soon thereafter. Our oldest daughter has hemangioma in her hip. So when they told me, they told us what a special need was, that was my confirmation that that was the child that God had picked out for us. It was exactly the same little mark that our older daughter had. So that's a picture we, just after we picked Gracie up in China, she took her first steps into my arms, literally. We took her 2 oldest kids, it's a river, and she's just an amazing part of my life. That's her now. She's just such a blessing. Here's what I didn't get though. I thought that God was asking us to do something to make the world better because we could. That wasn't it. I got it wrong, actually. I got it very wrong. What God was offering to us, which we could have either accepted or rejected, was a blessing. And thank God, literally, this time, we chose to accept the blessing. I know there have been other times in my life when it felt like God was asking us and asking me to do something that felt like work. It made me feel like work. It's very expensive, a lot of time, a lot of effort. And then I said, maybe later, God. I'm busy right now. I'll get to it later. He wasn't asking me to do work. It might have been work involved. He was offering a blessing. And I said no to it. And this time, thankfully, didn't do that. She's just been an amazing blessing to our family. Real quick, because I know we're on time. We feel like it's important to give back. We feel like everything we have comes from God. So it's important we give back. We honor Him with our resources and with the fruits of all the amazing things that He does. We've started a fund, work with a group in Haiti that helps save starving kids. In Haiti, it's so poor, the kids have so little to eat. They find these kids, these little, very dark-skinned kids, who are starving and have blonde hair. The body leaches every little bit of protein that it can possibly leach from these little ones, and including their hair color. So we do that and work with a group in China. There's a story, I don't know if you've heard it, about a man that's walking down the beach, and he sees in the distance a figure, and the figure bends over, and he's bending over repeatedly and picking something up on the ground, and they can't really tell what it is. And as he gets closer, he sees this massive expanse of beach, and the starfish washed up all over the beach. He sees this little boy, and he's going along, he's picking up starfish, he's throwing it back in the water, right? So the man gets closer and he asks the boy, he said, "Son, what are you doing?" And the little boy says, I'm trying to save these starfish. They're going to die. The sun's going to come out, the tide's going to go out, the starfish are all going to die. The man looks at the beach and he sees thousands of starfish and he says, "Son, don't you see how impossible this task is?" He said, it's too many. You can't make it different. And the little boy thinks about it. He looks at the beach, and he looks down, and he reaches down, and he picks the starfish up, and he throws it back in the water, and he says, "It just made a difference to that one." So sometimes in our lives, we look at all the craziness in the world, and we see it, it's too much. We don't know. We know that we can't change it all. But if you think about the story, what we can do is what we can do. One little thing, a little act of kindness, one little piece of difference, one little starfish, one little life, makes a huge difference. And it won't just make a huge difference to that life. I can tell you, having worked with a lot of good people and doing a lot of good things, just like the people here, make a big difference in your life too. So these are some groups that we know that Passion International sponsor 5 kids. Each of our kids sponsor a child. Community Coalition of Haiti, which does the work that I talked about in Haiti. And then Show Hope, which works on adoption and orphan care all around the world, but particularly in China, which is where I've heard it. So that's my lecture. That's my talk today. You're in a great place. Take advantage of it. Go live a big life. Thank you.